Are you looking to add some conditional logic to your data pipelines in Microsoft Fabric? For that, we have the if condition activity that we're going to cover in this video. Welcome to the video. My name is Aleksi, and on this channel I cover Microsoft Azure and Fabric related topics. And in this video we're continuing our journey with Microsoft Fabric data engineering. And in this video we're going to cover if condition in Microsoft Fabric data pipelines. This video is also part of my Microsoft Fabric data engineering series. A link to the playlist can be found in the description below. Also, it is good to keep in mind that these videos build on top of the concepts covered in previous videos. So before watching this video, you should be familiar with expressions that I covered in the previous video. But now let's talk about the if condition activity in Microsoft Fabric data pipelines. That is a very essential activity to learn since it allows you to build some conditional logic to your pipelines. In this video, I will first cover on conceptual level how the if condition activity works, and then we will have a demo/tutorial and check out how it works in action. But now, let's get started. First, we can imagine a situation where we have a data pipeline in Microsoft Fabric. In that pipeline, we have one activity followed by another activity. However, after our second activity, our pipeline's logical flow splits. And then we have two more activities, activity 3 and activity 4. We don't want these activities to run at the same time, and we would like to run the activity 3 on Sundays and the activity 4 every other day than Sundays. How could we achieve this in a data pipeline? Of course, we can wrap these activities to an if condition, and that has a logic to run the activity 3 on Sundays and run the activity 4 every other day than Sundays. We will come back to this example in just a moment, but before that, let's digest how if conditions work in a bit more detail. Here we can see how does the if condition activity look in the data pipeline UI. First, for the if condition, we have to define a condition expression using the pipeline's expression language that we have covered in the previous video. The only limitation for this expression is that the output of the expression has to be a Boolean value, meaning that it has to resolve to true or false. Next, we have the two branches in our if condition. There is a one branch for true value and one branch for the false value. And based on our expression that resolves to true or false, the data pipeline will decide which branch to use. Inside of those branches, we can then add actions/activities that we want to perform. When our if condition executes, first our expression is evaluated whether it is true or false. If it's true, then our if condition will execute all the activities in the true branch, and if it's false, then it will execute activities in the false branch. Next, let's cover in more detail how this expression evaluation works and how it is decided which branch to use. Our pipeline logic for this imaginary situation is that on every Sunday we want to fetch all the 30 tables from the source, otherwise we will just copy the 5 tables that are needed daily. Our run schedule for this pipeline is every day at 5 AM UTC time. Then we have our if condition, and in the if condition we have our two branches. In our true branch we have the logic to copy all the 30 tables from the source, and then in our false branch we have the logic to copy only those 5 tables that are needed daily. Now we would need to build an expression that would evaluate the true when it's Sunday and false when it's not Sunday. Here we have the expression that would handle this logic for us. Basically, we would need to have 3 functions in our expression. The innermost function we have is the UTC now function that will resolve to the current timestamp in the UTC time. Then we have wrapped that function to the day of the week function that will take the timestamp from our UTC now function and return a number from 0 to 6 based on which day of the week it is based on our timestamp. 0 means that it's Sunday, 1 means Monday, and 2 means Tuesday, and so on. Then the outermost function we have is the equals function that will then compare the results of our day of the week function to a 0 and then evaluate to true or false based on the outcome of our day of the week function. But now let's again do an imaginary run for our pipeline for June 2nd, 2024, which happens to be Sunday. And let's see how our expression would resolve step by step in this situation. First, when we would run our expression, the UTC now would resolve to current timestamp since it is the innermost function in our expression. Second, our day of the week function resolves using the timestamp that came from our UTC now function, and since our pipeline is running on Sunday, it will resolve to 0. Then lastly, our equals function compares does 0 equals 0, and it does, so it will then resolve to true. This means that our if condition will then run the activities in our true branch, and in this context of this example, copy those 30 tables from the source. Next, let's run this same pipeline again, but now it is running on the following day, which is June 3rd, 2024. This then means that now our expression will resolve to false, since our day of the week will return 1 for Monday, and our equals will then compare 0 to 1, which is obviously not true, meaning false. This will then guide our execution logic to our false branch, which will then copy only those 5 tables from the source. Now let's hop into Fabric and let's do a quick demo/tutorial together so you can see how does the if condition works in action. But before we do that, I would like you to know that I spent a ton of my free time creating these videos for you, and that's why I would like you to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more Microsoft Fabric data engineering content. It doesn't cost you anything, and I would highly appreciate that. But now let's go to Fabric. Let's start by opening up the Data Factory experience and creating a new data pipeline and then naming that pipeline according to our naming conventions. Then we want to start with a blank canvas and then just add if condition to our pipeline. So let's select it from the list of available activities. First, let's inspect our if condition a bit more closely. When we have our if condition selected, we can see these 2 tabs under our development canvas. In the general tab, we have the basic activity general information like the name and description. Then in the activities tab, we have the expression field to which we would like to define the expression logic that has to evaluate to Boolean, meaning true or false. Under that, we have these 2 cases or branches, true and false. And we can see that we have no activities currently in those branches. By clicking this pencil icon in the right side, we could start to add activities to that branch. We would be also able to add these activities by clicking these small pencil icons in the if condition activity or clicking those plus icons in the activity. All of these 3 ways will achieve the same goal. Let's now click this small pencil in the true branch of the if condition. This will then open this blank looking canvas, and from the breadcrumbs on the top left we can see that now we are inside of the true branch, and now we could start to add a bunch of different activities here that we want to run when our if condition evaluates to true. For now, let's just add one wait activity here and name it to true. Then we can go back to the main canvas, and now we can see that wait activity in our true branch. Next, let's add a wait activity to our false branch as well, and let's name it as false, and go back to the main canvas of the pipeline. Next, we would like to define an expression for our condition. Let's open the activities tab and then click our expression field as active so that add dynamic content will appear under it, and then we can click it to open the pipeline expression builder. Then we want to navigate to functions and open up the logical functions. Basically here we have a bunch of functions that will all evaluate to true or false when ran. Exception being here the if function that we can ignore for now. As an example here, we can use the equals function that we used in the concept section of this video, so let's add that to our expression by clicking it. Now we would have to add arguments/values for our equals function, so that it can compare are they same or not. We could use numbers or strings here. Let's just add string ABC in single quotes as our first value, and then exactly same ABC in single quotes as our second value. Also remember that those values have to be separated by commas. A little tip for you when using these functions here is to hover your mouse over the function you are planning to use, so you can get this small documentation about the function and its usage. But for now we have configured our expression, and since ABC equals to ABC, this function should evaluate to true. Now we can click OK and try to run this pipeline. Let's click run and then save and run. That will then trigger a run for our pipeline. That should finish very fast since we are just running an if condition and some wait activities. Now our pipeline run is done and we can see that we just executed the wait activity in our true branch, since our equals functions evaluated to true. Next, let's go back to our expression and let's use another function and try to get the value to evaluate to false this time. We can, for example, use the less function, and let's hover our mouse on top of it, and the text here says that returns true if the first argument is less than the second. So we have to input a larger number to the first argument to get it to evaluate as false. Let's click the less function and add 2 as our first argument and then 1 as our second argument. Now our expression should evaluate to false, so let's try to run our pipeline and see if it works like expected. Now our run has completed and we can see that now we ran the wait activity in our false branch. So everything went as we expected. Next, I want to tell you a small but a significant limitation with the if activity that could be a bit annoying when building data pipelines. Let's open one of our branches, and like discussed, we could add more activities inside these branches. However, we cannot add another if activity inside our current if activity. So nested if activities are not supported. There are some workarounds that you could do, like use the switch activity instead of if activity, to which you can specify multiple branches if that is the case you need. If you would really need to have another if activity inside your if activity, then you would need to add invoke pipeline activity inside this if activity and have another if inside that pipeline which is being executed by that activity. However, this can get very complex very fast, and for those cases I would start looking at some other tools in Fabric, like notebooks that can handle way more complex logic than pipelines. Now you should have the basic idea how if condition activity works in Microsoft Fabric data pipelines. If you would like to learn more about Fabric, check out this video next. Now I thank you for watching and see you in that video.